Hello guys and welcome to GA Flying. It's early morning on the Shetland Island to the north of Scotland, although I think they also belong to Scotland in this case. Today we will be checking out the Just Flight Piper that you can see here. This is an awesome custom livery that I have found on FlightSim.to. So obviously, like always, I will link it if you also want to try it out. The flight today will not be very long. We'll be just flying over like the majority of those islands. But at the end, there will be like an amazing approach and landing. We will be landing in Echo Golf 78, which is like a very small airport on a very small island that was added as part of the UK update in 2020. And you will see, for me, this is probably the best looking airport that I have seen. It's totally cool. But it's also very difficult in 2020 times, right? I was using it to train landings with GA planes. Although now in 2024, sadly, it's kind of a little bit bugged, which makes it even more difficult to land there. But I will explain everything once we are in the air. Okay. So it's already pretty bright, so I guess we can start. I'm not sure if those like bird sounds really fit the environment here. But maybe they have a lot of birds on this airport. Okay, so let us just get in. There was an update to this plane to 2024, but it's like not a native update. So like in walk around view, you still cannot click on stuff, right? So you will have to just disable all of it from the EFB. Actually, maybe before going inside, let me just show you the changelog for the last patches for this plane. When it comes to the Piper, I pretty much own it since it was released. It was, from what I remember, the first very realistic, high fidelity, small airplane that was released in MSFS2020. So like everyone was super excited about it. In the beginning, it had like a strange flight model that was kind of okay, but not really when the wind was blowing, right? Then it was doing some very crazy stuff. But there was lots and lots of patches since then. Okay, so let us take a look at the last ones. Okay, so pretty much the main patch to 2024, right, is here. Okay, and those are the main changes when the version for the new sim was introduced. So let me just start here, right? Compatibility with 2024, a lot of new functionality in the EFB that I will show you, including Navigraph, including all of those like most advanced Navigraph functions that you will also see. So for example, this interactive map, this en route map that also lets you see everything on the airport when you're taxiing, right? Like in those like top airliners and stuff. So I will show you this one. We also have interactive paper charts, which I don't really like. I will show them a little bit later. There is another hidden click spot, okay, for heading sync. This makes 3 hidden click spots that I will show you. Okay. Improved flight model, including CFD. So this is this computational fluid dynamics. So pretty much like the more modern flight model that we have in MSFS, right? So this should solve some of the problems that were observed before. And I think it does, right? Because like always, I'm trying to prepare, so I have done some flights. And why I'm not totally sure that this is like fully realistic, it feels very, very good. And we'll also talk about this one. Okay. And they have also updated some textures. And when it comes to textures, I've marked this because this will be important, because this is the only plane where you have to do something with textures, right? So we will talk about this one. And those are the next ones. When we go to the top, it's pretty much like small fixes, right? So I just keep it here so you can pause if you want to read it. But for me, the most important stuff was in this main patch here. Okay. So let me just move this away. And I think we can get inside. I just love this livery, really. Okay. Let's check the window if we can see the outside sounds. Yeah, I can hear the birds, the airport birds, right? Okay, so when it comes to this one, there's a really good manual, right? So I have on my second screen, I will have this checklist here, okay? But before we start, let's talk about the textures. So as you can see here, I hope you can see it. Let me just move closer. Just so it's visible for everybody, okay? You can see they are kind of okay, right? Only slightly blurry. That's saying when I opened it for the first time, like when I installed it in 2024, they were super blurry. And it took me some time to find the information that you actually have to set your texture resolution in MSFS to a higher setting than medium, okay? I'm normally flying with like 1080p, so for me, medium was always looking great, pretty much. No matter what the plane was, it was always looking crisp, and there was no problem. Here, if you keep texture resolution at medium, it will be totally blurry, okay? So now I set it to high. You can also set it to ultra. I'm not entirely sure if I see that difference, but I think there is a slight one, right? So you can just experiment around with it. But just so you know, if you will see horrible textures, this is because you have to change this one setting. And as this plane is not very demanding, then like changing it to high for flying it doesn't really have an influence, right? At least for me, okay? Okay. So maybe let me also show you the map so you kind of know what is planned in a visual way, okay? So we'll be starting in Samburg, okay? I tried to Google the pronunciation. I think it can be like Samburg or Samborough, right? I even watched like a movie about pronouncing all of those like British cities. So let's just hope this is correct, okay? So we will just do a short tour of this island, and here this will be Echo Golf 78, right? So this airport that I was talking about, that I'm like find amazing, okay? But sadly also bugged. We will also talk about this one, okay? So let us start. Let me grab this checklist here. So brakes are here, they are set. Circuit breakers are in. They cannot pop, but they do work, right? If you pop it, there will be a failure, okay? Actually, if we are talking about failures, I'm sure people wonder if there are any failures in this one. So this is part of the manual. There are actually 4. Right, so spark plug fouling if you stay like with full mixture on the ground, right, with engine on. Vapor lock after shutdown can happen. Also low oil quantity, you can refill it, but through the EFB, so like not very immersive like in 8-way planes. And also battery failure, you can use it up, right, by trying to start unsuccessfully the plane, right? I can show you the tablet. It's here. If you want to hide it, this is this internal communications, what is it called? Intercom button here, right? Okay, we have those failures enabled here, okay? We can see we have a lot of oil. They do recommend to replenish it for it to be 8, okay? So let's just do it. Nice sound. Okay, auto fuel selector, because here we have to switch between those 2 tanks, right? So if you want to fly AFK, right, then you can just turn it on, do not forget it. There are some GPS options, but we are using the very old GPS, the GPS 100, and I will also talk about this one. It's pretty unique and it's fun to use, but sadly it's not fully simulated, right? So it won't fully replace the functionality of the normal GPS 100 or of other GPS units, okay? State saving, I will want to do a replay at the end, so I'm not turning it on. but normally I'm using it and it pretty much saves the state of all of the switches and stuff. So this is like full state saving, which is cool. Okay, HSI just gives us HSI here, which is what I prefer, because the other version is just a CDI, which is just much more simple, and I do like my HSIs. Trim sensitivity in the middle. Okay, so let's get rid of the chocks and of the tie downs. Okay, I can show you the other doors. Okay, so the oil door is here, but there's nothing inside, sadly. Okay, and the baggage door is pretty much outside here. Okay, so let's also close it. Let me show you the other functions then. Oh, interesting. Okay, so here you can see a normal sim brief like plan that you can go through with all of the data. This is not for our flight today, right? But it was for a different flight that I was doing in the past. So you have the full functionality here. You do have the map, which is the OpenStreetMap map, right? It always takes some time to load. But we also have the much better Navigraph map. But for this, you need an active Navigraph subscription, right? And so let me just show you. Those are the normal charts like you expect them, right? But this is this like advanced function that, for example, lets you have this taxi assist here, which is awesome, right? Okay, so we also have the checklists here, if you prefer to use them here. Pretty concise, pretty good, I like it. The top of descent calculator, right? So you can calculate how soon you have to start descending. And some settings. Okay. And you can also take some notes. Okay, and this is the aircraft. So with this, actually we might get the map because I really like it. Charts here. So you can even see like the stand, right? 1-0. Okay. And actually, what is the wind? Do I have it here? Yeah, tailwind and crosswind. This doesn't help me much because I'm kind of not staying in the direction that I will want to take off, right? Drag 0 knots. Maybe this is this one. Let us just compare. I haven't used this one because I'm using like a special function from GPS that I will also show you, okay? But for now, let me just compare the weather. Okay, no, so 210 at 7, right? So this is not this one. Yeah, so we would have to calculate this one. Okay. Other stuff, 1013. Okay. Let me just hide it. And let's start the plane, which is pretty fun and pretty easy. Okay, let me just close the other stuff that I will no longer need. Okay, so circuit breakers are in, alternate air is here, right? Propeller full forward. Avionics off, they are off. Here you can turn them off, right? They are all off as far as I can see. Fuel selector to the desired tank because it starts in off. So let's move it to the left side. Okay. Throttle half an inch open. Let's do this much. Alternator switch. This is interesting that you're starting with the alternator switch, right? Then the battery master. Okay. It's alive. Okay. Fuel pump on. And now we'll be priming, right? So we need the fuel pump on. We will be observing this needle here. If it moves, then it's already primed, right? So now I will move it, this one, to rich or at least 50%. There are different guidelines in different places. So let's move it to rich. Okay, and it has moved pretty much immediately, which might imply that this is already primed enough, right? Okay. So let's do this one, clear prop, right? Loop. And starter engage. Okay, and as soon as it catches, we pretty much have to move the mixture to rich, right? Okay, let me just turn on the nice lights here. Also like this effect because they are nice and 3D. Okay, and let us just move magnetoselector. Okay, throttle adjust 1400, 1500 RPM, which is here. Okay, so let's move it down a little bit. Let's move the mixture so we don't get those like fouled plugs, right? Okay, let me just see. Okay, this is fine. Okay, so let me now set up our navigation. Okay, so we want the radios. Let them go to on. Okay, here, if we want the GPS, then we need to click on bright. It's doing the self-test. Okay, we do want the DME, which is this one, and we do want the ADF, right? So let's just switch it to ADF. Okay, let me get the navigation data for our airport. So 11735. 11735. Oops. Okay, and we can see 1 nautical mile DME shows, right? So this should be correct because we are exactly at the airport. Okay, and now let's try the NDB 351. Okay, 351. Oops. Okay, should be 2. And here we can see the needle pointing at it. Okay. Okay. He asked if it's okay, right? Our initial information, I told them it's okay, because it's always okay in this case, and I just clicked enter. And now it's calibrating with the satellites. Okay, so what other stuff? This is also, once again, this combined switch like in old Pipers, right? So if you turn on the instrument lighting at the same time, you will get the navigation lights, so those. Okay, let us maybe talk about this blinking fellow here, okay? So we can see automatic extension off, okay? And this is because we have this switch here. It's a free position switch, and it starts at off. And this is about like the automatic gear extension, right? So this plane has a system where it extends the gear if you go down with power and with speed, just to make sure that you don't forget to pull the gear down and land without gear, right? But currently in the standard position, it's disabled. So the plane will not deploy the gear automatically, right? If we would move it down 1 notch, we would arm this system, and once we have like low power and low speed, it will drop down. Or if we move it to the very last position, to the bottom one, then it will immediately deploy the gear even if there is like no electricity, right? So for now, let's keep this one, the system disabled, but this also means that it will be blinking the whole time here. Okay. Okay, so let me just check the wind speed. So we have a sock here. Let me just, this is actually also like a custom airport, so I can show it to you. Everybody got that, right, with the UK update. Here. Okay, showcase. And let us move around. Let me just close this one. You can already see the nice views here. Okay, so we can see some taxiways are blocked. Do they have socks here? I would imagine they should, especially like on the Shetlands, right? Yeah, I really like that. Like nowadays we have so many custom airports, right? So it can be an adventure in itself to just like see all of them that you get for free in the base packages. Pretty nice, pretty nice. But where is my sock? Really? I actually have like fond memories of this airport because when I was doing my world tour in the Cessna 310, I almost like crashed here due to icing because I was crossing like the sea from the north, and there was very, very heavy icing, so I pretty much landed in the last moment. Although, what is interesting, the Cessna does have pretty good like anti-icing capabilities, but this was so strong that it was accumulating despite them. You can also see the city is nicely modeled, so here a small cargo area. It's just great that we're getting this one for free. Okay, that's saying I'm still not sure where the wind is. Okay, so let me just go back to the cockpit and use this one. Okay, 6 knots from 210. Okay. So let's see. From 210. So we could take this very short one, right? Or we could take this one. I guess I can take the long one. Why not? Yeah, okay, so we will just taxi here to Whiskey Kilo and then on the runway in here. Okay, I can do that. Okay, it's interesting, like either I've missed it or I didn't turn off the beacon. Maybe it wasn't here. Let me just see. Full forward off. There's section. Yeah, I don't see it in the list. Okay, so without list I would probably do it because I'm always doing it in other planes. Okay. So with this, I think we can slowly start to taxi. Okay, let me just see if this one's ready. Okay. So let me just show the function that I like the most, right? Because this can only read from a flight plan that you create on the map, on the MSFS map, right? So even if you create it in the new EFB, it's not designed for that. I've tried it and it was bugging out and stuff. So you would have to create your whole flight plan on the map, right? So what I like is this one that shows you the current wind. Right? And I will also show you some other functions later. Okay, so I'll just move this one to on. Let me just see. Okay, so we will just move around. Taxiing is pretty okay-ish, I would say. It was very twitchy in the beginning, right, when it came out, but like most planes were, from what I remember. But now I would say it's a nice average. Okay. Okay, we can actually put this one up. Okay, charts. Okay, and we can see this awesome taxi chart here. Sadly, this is only like in inches of mercury. Don't know why, really. And I didn't find a way to change it to hectopascals, right? So I would need to recalculate. Maybe this one is just take a look. No. It's interesting because actually, according to the manual, when they were talking about how this true speed indicator works, they said that you can like choose. Maybe you can. No, this doesn't make sense. They said that on the altimeter you can choose inches of mercury or hectopascals. So I'm not sure what has happened there. Okay, so let's just then proceed. Yeah, the taxi line is like very close to the grass here. Okay. Okay, and obviously before we move onto the runway, right, we'll do a nice short warm-up. Interesting markings. So yeah, I guess we will just stay here, and the wind is from 2-1. Right. Okay. Need to just move this one. Yeah, actually I'm dump, right? So we need to go here. Via Zulu? Is it Zulu? No, it's Juliet. Okay, so here. Much better. But now the wind is kind of behind us, so let's just move a little bit. I didn't see like a... maybe this was the... no, it's not the run-up area. So let's just move like this one. Okay. Okay, so propeller full forward. Mixture rich. We will be doing the run-up, okay, so 2000 RPM. Okay, let's check the magnetos. The drop is fine. Okay, so we managed not to foul them. Now let's exercise the propellers 3 times. Okay. Fuel pressure, TNPs, everything in the green, right? This is fine, hope I didn't forget anything. Okay. And I can also check what the initial course was supposed to be, because we do have the VOR behind us, right? So 005. Okay. So here is the hidden click spot. As you could see, it has centered the heading back. So this is what was mentioned in the patch notes, right? This is something new. Okay. So now it was supposed to be 004, right? So this is 005, so 004 should be here. Okay. I can pull down the power a little bit, and we will be taxiing on the runway. Okay, so when it comes to those anti-collision lights here, those are strobe lights that are at the ends of the wings, right? So you can just turn them on. Here, you could see. Right? Okay, so let's move the transponder to old. Okay, let me check before takeoff. Battery master switch on, alternator on, flight instruments check, fuel selector, let's switch to the other tank. Click. Okay. Engine pump on. Okay, mixture set, propeller set, flaps set. Okay, so let's talk about the flaps. So normal takeoff is without flaps or with flaps 1, okay, and short field takeoff is with flaps 2, okay. And for normal takeoff, the rotation speed is around 65 to 75, and for short around 50-60 knots. Okay. So for today, we can do 1 notch of flaps, I think. Do you want the pitot heat? Let me just check. Here is 10, so 13 degrees. Might get cold if you go into the air, so why not? Right. Okay. Yeah, I just need to check the direction, if everything is fine. Seems so, the window is closed. Let's take a look into the back. I just love those curtains here. It's always like very cozy in old planes when they have the curtains. Okay, let's just do a last check. Okay, seems free. Oh, nice and old. Okay, and we can go into the air. I've told you I will show you like 3 hidden click spots. So one was here, center the heading back, and the other ones are for the autopilot, so I will just show them to you in the air. Okay? Okay. A lot of talking, not enough flying, so let's go. Oops. Some strange legs. Okay, so entering runway 27. Let's make sure we will not keep the runway occupied for too long, right? Ooh, some uneven ground. Yeah, but this is nothing when compared to the place where we will be actually landing. It seems pretty well, low volume, right? The engine, but actually once we go full power, I think it will be really great. I really like the engine sounds in this one, and you can hear them clearly. Okay. Yeah, so like gigantic runway shouldn't be really needed. Again, the wind is supposed to be from 2-1, okay, so it's from the left. Okay, last check. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Okay, maybe let's talk about alternate air, right? Because when I was starting flight simming, it also took me a lot of time to research it. So when it comes to GA planes, they most of the time have like alternate static or alternate air, and as far as I understand, those are 2 different things, right? Alternate static is when you have a problem with the static port, right? That is showing you the altitude and stuff. Not sure where it is here. Maybe it's nowhere, maybe it's in the pitot tube. Normally there's like also a static port, right? And if the static port is probably damaged or like frozen over or blocked, then you can move to sensors in a different place in the plane, right? So for example, in the middle of the plane. So this is alternate static, but alternate air is actually, as far as I understand, circumventing the standard air filter in the engine, right? Also because of icing or some other blockage. If I'm wrong, please do tell me, okay? Because it wasn't easy to find out in the first place. Okay. Okay. One last look before we start. Yeah, this red is really looking great. Okay. So let me just set up the view so I will see the top of the RPM gauge, right? and the manifold pressure one. Okay, so expecting some wind from the left. Full throttle, because this is not the turbo one. The turbo one, you shouldn't really use full throttle, right? And we are taking off. So something that you will notice very quickly, let me just, okay, so the runway pretty much ends under us, so we can go gear up. Something that I also learned from like real pilots, that like in GA planes you are not retracting the gear as soon as you have positive rate, but as soon as like you are clear of the runway, because in GA planes, from what I understand, you still have the chance to kind of land, right, with the gear down, if you have it down, if something bad happens. Maybe it's wrong, but that's what I heard. And one thing that is also kind of, well, maybe not special, right, but that you will notice about this one is that you need a lot of rudder input for the ball to be centered when you want to do coordinated turns. So this is much more than in your average plane in MSFS, even including like high fidelity planes, right? Okay. So once we are over 1,000 feet, we will be able to turn off the landing lights, right? I already got rid of this one notch of flaps. We can see that the EME is showing us like the distance to the airport, right, that we have left, and you can see this pointing to the NDB at the airport. There doesn't seem to be like a deviation indication here, because I don't think we are like flying perfectly. So it might be that it's like a limited VR that is only providing the distance. Okay, let me just throttle down. Now we can get rid of the landing light on the fuel pumps. Okay, and this is pretty much our cruising altitude already. So what they do recommend is pulling down the propellers to 2,200. So somewhere here, and the manifold pressure to 23. Okay, you can just see, so a little bit more. As far as I could see, like there is no special setting for the climb, right? Okay, let me center the heading back. Okay, and also no table with cruise settings. So the manual is kind of like forwarding you to an operations handbook, which I couldn't find, so I'm not sure if it's supplied by Just Flight at all, or they are expecting you to just grab the original one from the original plane, right? That saying, we do have an EGT indicator here, so we will be able to lean it, right, once we are in flight. Let me now try to trim it. More or less, I guess. Yeah, so something that you will notice is that the plane is very stable and feels very heavy, much more than other similar GA planes that I have flown before. But like the real pilots that have flown this before are saying that this is true to life. For me, it's kind of feeling like the steering surfaces would not be like very effective. But it's also something that you need to get used to, and it does feel unique because of this one, right? Okay, and maybe let me show you the autopilot. Right? Okay, so the autopilot is here. It's probably pretty dark. Let me try it with the light here, with the red light that we have here. Is it better? Kind of. Okay, so this is the main autopilot switch. This is the heading switch, right? So let me center the heading back. Okay, so let us first use those two functions. And the plane should try to catch the heading back, okay? Originally, there is like no vertical autopilot mode, but there is a hidden one, right? As I said, there are like hidden buttons. So here you have this like turn knob that would normally select the option of the horizontal navigation, right? So heading, nav, localizer, and so on. But under Piper, here there is the hidden button for altitude hold. So I just clicked it, and as you can see, it's trying to keep the altitude, right? So this is not a thing in the real plane, so this is just to make it more convenient, okay? So this was hidden button number 2. Okay? But as I said, there is also hidden button number 3, and it's actually here. You can see the pointer changing here. And this is for vertical speed, okay? So here we do have like a vertical speed slider that is hidden, right? So I'm clicking on it, and now I'm scrolling up, and as you can see, the vertical speed is going up, okay? Let me just click on altitude hold again, and it holds the altitude, right? So you can cheat if you want to. Okay, so other stuff that I can show you, but maybe before we do it, let's do like an outside view. Yeah, it really looks great. Yeah, lately I really like those like northern areas of the world, like not only Alaska, which you know because I have done some flights in Alaska, but also like in Europe. Last year I was to Norway, like to the very northern part of Norway, North Cap and stuff, and it's like just beautiful. I really enjoy it. And actually, like our destination airport will be very similar to the terrain that I have seen like in Norway when I was there. Okay. Let me just make sure that we have the maximum light possible here, and it seems like we do. Okay. Here you can also like play around with the ventilation, right? And there are sounds for it. Okay. But let's talk about this great GPS. So one function you could see now, I needed to press like 4 or 5 times nav to get here, and this is showing you the current wind. Okay, so it's obviously great if you are preparing to land, for example. Other stuff is this waypoint here. Let me see. Yeah, I'm just clicking too fast for it to process, I think. So let me just try it again. Okay, and this shows you the nearest NDBs, okay? So one we have like left behind us, right? When we click again, then it shows us the nearest waypoints, right? GPS waypoints. This is always the bearing, and this is always the range to them, right? And this shows us the nearest airports, right? If we need an airport fast, then we just turn this on. We can also scroll through the list and select the one that we want to use. And here we can see our destination airport. Is it? Yeah, it is. So bearing 036, 23 miles. So this is, as I said, maybe not great as something that you would replace your GPS with if you want to fly with GPS. But this is amazing if you want to fly, for example, with radio navigation or VFR and just want some additional information here. Okay? So in this case, I haven't like created the flight plan on the map, right? So for example, I cannot use this go to. But here in this go to, you would normally be able to see the range and the path to the waypoint, and you could also like you could also kind of simulate the magenta line, right? Because it would show you the tracking of the track of the magenta line and your deviation to the left or to the right from this line. That's saying this functionality with like following the flight plan like the classical with the magenta line isn't working like very well, especially if you want the autopilot to follow it. I've tried it a couple of times, and one time it looked like it's following it. I needed to go onto the path right directly, and then when I turned it on, it was kind of looking, because here you just switch to GPS, right, if you want to follow the GPS. But to be honest, I'm still not sure if this is really working, because for a moment it was looking like it's trying to do it, but then it gave up, despite me being like directly on the magenta line, so I'm not sure, right? But what works best is this wind data and those waypoints, right? So especially the airport. Yeah. Already here or not? Yeah, so this is ours. Okay. Let me just take a look outside, make sure everything is fine. I guess we can lean it a little bit, right? Let me just mark it here. Although we are really low, right? We are not even at 3,000 feet. But still, it might be that like the peak is already here. Yeah. Really? Okay, so the peak seems to be here. So let's go ridge of peak kind of here. Okay, so as I said, sadly no tables. I would expect there are tables like in the internet that you can use. Okay, let's just take a look outside. Okay, and this is actually our landing airport already, but we will want to do kind of a turn to the left. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so this should be at 046. 046 is here, right? So this is this. So before we do it, let's go down, let's do some hand flying. And for this one, I will probably turn the mixture to full. Okay. My plane. Yeah, I really like to hand fly it. Like, even if I'm not sure if it's fully realistic, because it feels very, very heavy on the controls. That's saying, like, in all of those manuals and descriptions, they say it's a cruiser, right? It's designed for stable, long-range flying. So maybe this is really how it's supposed to feel. Either way, it feels totally different than the A2A, for example, Comanche, right? So if you have both, I mean, if you are considering buying both, then this will be still like a totally different experience. Okay, maybe let's add some sunlight, because it's kind of... or not. Okay, so we'll be actually able to see something, and let's just take a look around. Yeah, it must be insane, like, to live here. When I was in Norway, they said that, like, in the northern parts on the coast, there are pretty much like months where you barely can leave your home, like, because you get this like very strong, very cold wind, right? Let me just see if everything is fine here. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, we can do outside view, because as I said, it is very stable, right? So you can really enjoy the views. I just love this effect when, like, the sunshine is coming through the clouds. Okay, so we do have some turbulence here. Yeah, this is great. Like sometimes I'm dreaming about like living in places like this, which is kind of, well, it feels like the end of the world, right? I know there are more remote places than this one, but still. I'm also planning like to go to Iceland soon, so I do imagine it will be similar like here. Yeah, this color is really right. Actually, this is a real livery, and like the author on Flight Sim thinks it's like a cosmetics firm or something that you can see on the livery, but he also wasn't sure, right? He knows that it exists. Here you can see, yeah, this mulberry organic. Guess you guys can try to Google it. Okay, let's not crash. Yeah, those rolling hills. When it comes to the destination airport, there is a custom scenery for it that is very highly rated on Flight Sim. I did try it out because I was thinking maybe it would fix the bug that I have like with this location, but sadly it didn't fix the bug, and it also had like a lot of dependencies, right? You had to download a lot of additional files. And this is something that I don't like to do, right? Because if there's like lots and lots of deficiencies, if something will stop working, then I'm never sure what has caused it, and like by then I totally forgot what it was that I downloaded. So I do kind of try to avoid airports that have a lot of additional files needed that you need to like kind of download as additional single plugins. Okay, I guess for a moment we can go and use the autopilot, right? And the fake altitude hold here above the turn knob. And let me just make sure we are not running into anything. And we can do a short passenger view. Okay. Curtains. In X-Plane there was this Mitsubishi MU2, I guess, that had like totally high fidelity curtains like that were kind of translucent but only a little bit, so there was like lots and lots of effort invested into making it look great. In X-Plane I also had this like photo scenery here, but sadly there were some problems with the height data, right? And it was pretty flat, sadly. Okay, so we can turn around. Yeah, I really like the design here. I don't know why. Maybe because it's like so 3D, right? Because they're kind of like below the level here. I mean, all of the single gauges, right? Yeah, we need some sheep here, definitely. In the like custom version of this airport that I was talking about, that will be our destination airport, there were animals, right? And like cars and stuff. But the overall detail level, I think, of all of those additional objects was kind of like more simplistic than the one that you normally get with the like standard scenery that you will see. Okay, do we need to switch the tank? It's now on the right side, right? So it's taking it from here. We're kind of in between. Yeah, but let's switch it to left. It's also not described if you have to turn on the fuel pump to switch tanks. But this is like a thing with Cessnas and stuff. So I will just do it. Okay. Okay. And let's take a look at our airport. Yeah, here, 25 miles. Okay. I guess we can add some speed, do some high performance cruise here. Okay, so here once again manifold pressure. Oil temp is okay, oil pressure is okay, amps are okay, everything seems to be working fine. We can also talk about, can we? Yeah, I'm not crashing into anything. Just let me see. So this will be bearing 062. So let's just make sure we are flying in the right direction. Oops. Okay. So let's use the fact that we are cheating and using the autopilot to tell you something more about this one. So this is an interesting DME. Here you can see those three settings, right? So if it's switched to remote, so the first setting, then you are controlling the source from it from here, right? If it comes from nav1, so this one, or nav2, so this one, right? But it also has like an internal frequency, so you can make him trace a third like radio source here. So if you would be flying a very complicated approach, for example, like a DME arc, right? You could keep changing nav1 and nav2, and this would still provide the distance to the source that you provide here. Okay. So this is pretty much for this source, for frequency, right? But we use remote, we use nav2, so we also have all of this data. And once again, this is our original airport that we have left. Okay. Yay, sun. Okay, let's take a look outside. Let's see how the people live here. Yeah, all of those like places where the water touches the land do really look great in 2024. I think this is one of the like biggest improvements. Okay, thus are we flying into those hills? Let me just take over for a second. Okay, I think we should be fine. So just go back here and fake altitude hold mode. Obviously, normally when I'm flying and not talking, I'm trying not to use it, I'm trying to be realistic. But here I want to make sure that I will be able to like show you guys a lot of stuff. And I need my hands for this one. So one thing that I was discussing in, are we not flying into those? No. That I was discussing in my prior video, the one with the Duke, right? Is this true speed indicator here, how to use it, right? And I pretty much said that you have to match your height with the temperature outside, right? So you take the height from here, right? And the temperature from here. And this will tell you your true speed here below, right? That's saying I did take it from the altimeter without changing the pressure altitude on the altimeter, right? So what I read now is that the pressure altitude that is needed is the pressure altitude with the standard pressure. So in hectopascal 1013, right, and in inches of mercury 29902, right? So you are not taking the height from the real height that is modified by the barrel, but just from the one that is modified by the standard barrel, right? That is always the same. And this was actually like described in the manual for this plane. Okay, so now I think this is this before us. You can just see here. So 15 miles out, 065. Is it 065? Yeah, it kind of is. So I just love it because I do really like radio navigation, right? And as like an additional gadget to flying radio navigation just to have some more information, this is great. Normally in the real one, you can just program in a lot of stuff, right? But programming in doesn't work. So you can only base on what was provided, like what you have created on the map. Or you can just do it freely like I'm doing here, right? But I'm just looking for the navigation source that is like of interest for me, and then just getting the navigation to this point. There should be also the ground speed, actually. Let me just see. Here, 141. So once again, this is for most of the users, right, that you need the speeds for better than this true airspeed here. And obviously, if you are flying from or to a VOR, you will also get your correct speed here. But now we are not flying on the radial, we are crossing the radials, right? So this will be not accurate. Okay. So let's talk about the destination airport. As I said, it's one of the coolest places in MSFS, so let me just expand this thought. So not only will the scenery be absolutely amazing, which you will see, but it's also very, very challenging. It's not always short and blocked by like additional barriers, rocks around, scenery pieces, but it's also like very sloped and uneven. Okay? But I hope you will enjoy it. I hope I will not crash. I have done the landings before with this one, and many of them, like all except for one, were a success. But there is also this bug that I was talking about. Sadly, on this ending of the runway here, far away, like this facing away from us, there seems to be some object or like an invisible barrier that is kind of either stopping the plane, or if you are too fast, it will just turn it over, right? So there is some invisible barrier or object there. So we cannot afford to run into it, which means that the runway that we can use will be even shorter. Okay, let me just get some nice light here. Yeah, it's fascinating because last time actually, just so you can see all of those details. I've tried natural weather, and there was like no visibility at all. There was like wind 20 knots gusting 30, right, rain, and no visibility at all. So while I do prefer to always use like real weather, sometimes for like the projects that I'm planning for you guys, it's like simply not working, right? I know it might be like fun for a couple of seconds to watch me struggle, right? But in this plane we cannot go above the clouds, right? So it would be like zero visibility all of the time. I will for sure do flights like this, right? Very hard flights in real weather or whatever, random weather. But not this one, because I wanted to show you like the scenery pieces and also this great landing. And I wouldn't even find probably the runway with the weather that was there, like natural. Okay. So let us prepare a little bit. I just wanted to see what the wind is, what we can expect. Okay, so it's heading 06, oh, yeah, here in the middle, so 271, 13 knots. Okay, so 271 is from here. Okay, so we will go this way. So this is the more difficult direction to land from, but I hope we will be able to do it. Okay, pump, landing lights, full propellers. So this is also something interesting in the manual, because they do recommend to use full propellers as soon as you start descending. Right, so let's just do it. Okay, let me make sure everything is fine here. We are on the right tank. We have all of the data here. Should be fine. We can do a flight fly over, right, for you guys, just so you see the detail of this place. Okay. Let's not pull the tower back too much. Okay, and I will actually want like this recorder, which is this native 2024 recorder. Yeah, but sadly it has this bug that it sometimes does, that if you switch it like to window mode, it disappears entirely. Okay, so can I just minimize it? Okay, I guess not. So for now, we'll just have it minimized. Okay, and let me show you the detail here. Not like this. Okay, let's try to not fly into anything. So this is pretty much the runway that we'll be landing on, going over this lighthouse and over those rocks here. Let me just add some power. Okay, we are within the wide band. Whoa, some turbulence over those rocks. Okay, so here you can see the speeds are here, like gear down 129 and also flaps extended 129. Okay, so let's gain some distance. Okay, let's remember that we need lots and lots of pedal here. Not too much. Still not used to it. Okay. I think we need this turn to be a little bit sharper. Okay, we are over the lighthouse. Okay, second notch of flaps. Gear down. Okay, last notch of flaps. And normally the approach speed is 75, but we will be trying to be a little bit slower, because we will pretty much need to drop to the ground. Oops. Now it's really well modeled here, the turbulence. And obviously I forgot about this one. Okay. Okay, and manual braking. I mean, we only have manual braking. Yeah, wasn't that bad. This time probably because we just had some headwind more than normally when I'm doing it. Okay, so with this we can just taxi, and here you can see this awesome detail pretty much. Okay, so let's not blind the people here, so strobes off, landing lights off. And then this is like custom version that you can get from Flight Sim TO. You will have like people watching here and like farm animals and also some other buildings. That's saying some of them are like pretty low res, I guess. So it's your choice. This one is great. Okay, let me just drive up a little bit. Okay. And I guess we will be able to take a look at this one. It would be easier if I wouldn't forget it on short final. Okay, so let's stop recording. I think we want to get rid of this one. Okay. And let me just try to figure out how it was. Okay, so let's save it so we don't mess it up. Okay. I have control, so let me move it here. Okay, no. Yeah, this also looks great. Okay. Well, let me just show you the landing. Will this be faster or slower? Yeah, slower. Okay. Okay, here we got pushed to the side. Okay. I don't know, when I was like training here it was like much more exciting. Let me try again. Okay. So if you don't know it, this is what is already offered like in the new sim, right? No, this is much more exciting, like from the passenger view. Okay, and last one. Yeah, I just love those rocks here. It really looks like in Norway when I was. I just have even like photos that looks almost exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, this was too good of a landing, right? Because last time when I was doing it, it was pretty dramatic and I kind of like came to a stop close before the barrier. Okay. Let me just show you maybe the back, right? And so you will know what to expect if you will want to fly here. And let me just get some nice weather. So you will see more. Just don't want to do it too fast because then we might flip, right? And I still want to like shut down the plane properly. Yeah, right. Just so we don't flip. Oh, see? And I have no idea how to fix it. I was thinking maybe I do have like a scenery conflict, but I tried to search it in the options and I couldn't find. So sad, like one of the coolest places in MSFS, and we do have this problem here. So this is also why I couldn't touch down anywhere here, right? Because I was afraid we would just flip and destroy the plane, so then you have even less of this runway. I mean, this looks so cool. I just can't stop looking in it. Okay, so let's just turn it off. Okay, approach and landing. So this all checks out. Okay, flaps retract, fuel pump off. Fuel pump is off. Avionics off. They are almost off. So here we need to press 3 seconds, I guess. Yeah, okay, here off, and here off, okay. Electrical switches, so this stuff. Okay, we don't need all of it. We don't need the alternator. Or is it like a separate position? Full forward, throttle closed, it is closed. Mixture, idle cutoff. Okay. Magnetos off. Alternator switch off and battery off. Okay. And now we have this cool opening mechanism, right? Like in other older planes. And this can, if you don't close it, you will get like similar stuff like in the Comanche, right? So a lot of noise here. Okay. Let me just use this one. Aircraft, baggage door. And oil door. Let's just refill our oil. One screen that I can show you is this fuel payload, but it's pretty like simplistic in this case. Okay guys, so this is the Just Flight Piper Aero 3, the version without the turbo, right, the normal one. So to summarize, please remember about like increasing the quality of your textures, right, if you have it on medium. I think if there would be a sale and you are into GA planes, it's worth it because it does really feel unique. And I think it does feel believable, but like totally different than the Comanche and the flight characteristics. There's also like a lot of unique sounds. For example, like the fuel pump, it's pretty nice sounding. Let me just, even this button was like interesting sounding, right? So if you hear it, it's like very irregular, right? So like in most of those planes, you would just get a constant sound, like constant humming. But here you can like hear the whole mechanism of it pumping, which is also pretty cool. So full price, I'm not sure, to be honest, because like we do have GA planes that have many more functions, right? But if there is a sale, I would probably like buy it again because it's just different and it's fun and it's pretty cool. Especially with this livery that I love. Okay. Okay, guys, so thank you for watching and see you in future videos. Thank you. Bye-bye.